All right, let's talk about something I think we've all felt at some point. That pit in your stomach when you look at a math problem. That's math anxiety. But today, we're not just going to talk about it. We're going to give you a strategy to turn that anxiety into a feeling of genuine empowerment. You know that feeling, right? You're staring at a word problem, the words and numbers just kind of swim around on the page, and your brain just stops. It's a super frustrating feeling, but I promise you it doesn't have to be the end of the story.
So that's the whole goal here. We're going to give you a clear, repeatable framework, a kind of master key, really. By the time we're done, you'll have a strategy you can use to walk up to any challenge feeling confident instead of confused.
So here's our game plan. We'll start by talking about what problem solving really is. Then we'll get into our 4-step master key, how to understand, plan, solve, and then check your work. And we'll wrap up with what might be the most important tool of all, your mindset.
Okay, first things first, let's get one thing straight. So many of us think that being good at math is some rare talent you're just born with. That's just not true. Problem solving is a skill, and like any other skill, you can learn it and you can master it with the right approach.
See, the secret isn't about being a genius. It's about having a reliable process, something you can count on every single time you're stuck. When you have a method, it takes away all the guesswork, and that's what builds real confidence.
And that leads us right into the heart of this whole thing. A simple but seriously powerful framework that's going to be your foundation for success from here on out.
And this isn't some new, trendy technique I just made up. This framework was developed way back in 1945 by a brilliant mathematician named George Polya. The fact that it's still one of the best methods out there today, that tells you just how powerful it is.
And here they are, the 4 steps. 1. Understand. 2. Plan. 3. Solve. And 4. Check. So simple, right? But this little process is our master key. Let's break down exactly how to use it. Okay, let's dig into step 1. And honestly, this might be the most critical step of them all. You absolutely cannot solve a problem you don't really truly understand. Rushing to start calculating is probably the #1 reason we make mistakes.
So how do you make sure you actually get it? Well, try these simple tricks. Read the problem out loud. It actually uses a different part of your brain. Highlight what seems important. And my favorite, try to explain the problem to yourself in your own words. If you can do that, you've understood it.
You know, there's even a popular little tool for this step called the CUBS method. It's basically a checklist. You circle the numbers, underline the question, box keywords, eliminate junk you don't need, and then solve. It's a great way to break a problem down.
Now, this is a super important point. A method like CUBES is awesome because it gives you clear things to do. But, and this is a big but, you can't just go through the motions, circling and boxing without actually thinking. The whole point of these tools is to help you understand, not to replace understanding. Okay, so once you've really wrapped your head around the problem, it's go time. This is where we move from thinking to doing. We make a plan, and then we execute it. And listen, there is not just one right way to solve every problem. Think of it like you have this entire toolkit of different strategies. You can draw a picture. You can work backwards. You can try a simpler version of the problem first. The key is to pick the right tool for the job. You know what? Let's make this real. Here's a classic word problem. We're going to use one of those strategies we just talked about, working backwards, to figure out how old Sam is.
Okay, so we start with the one solid piece of info we have. Grandma is 71. The problem says her age is 20 more than something. So we do the opposite. We subtract 20. That gets us to 51. Then it says 3 times Sam's age. So we do the opposite of that and divide by 3. And voila, 51 divided by 3 is 17. Sam is 17 years old. See how just reversing the steps unlocks the answer?
But wait, we are not done yet. You've got an answer, which is great, but now comes the final step, and it is just as important as the first, checking your work. This is your safety net. This is how you make sure your answer actually makes sense.
So how can you check it? Well, you've got options. You can use inverse operations, like multiplication, to check division. You can just estimate. Does 17 seem like a reasonable age? For sure. You can even plug your answer back into the original problem and see if it works. Seriously, don't skip this step.
Okay, we've gone through the whole 4-step process, but there's one last piece to this puzzle. You could call it the secret ingredient, and it might just be the most important part. It's not about what you do, it's about the mindset you bring to the problem.
I love this quote because it just hits the nail on the head.
Of course, math can be tough, but if you walk into it with a positive attitude, believing that you can figure it out, well, that's half the battle right there. So how do you actually build this kind of mindset? Well, first off, practice, practice, practice. The more you do this, the easier it gets. Second, stay positive. When you feel frustrated, just take a deep breath. Third, please remember that asking for help is a sign of strength, never weakness. And last, keep it simple. Just stick to the process.
And there you have it. That's our journey for today. We've walked through a time-tested framework, we've filled your toolkit with powerful strategies, and we've talked about why your mindset is everything. You are now equipped to face those problems head-on.
So I guess there's only one question left to ask. You're holding the key now. So what problem, in math, or maybe even in life, are you ready to go unlock next?